Hi, YouTube. I hope you're all doing good. I'm doing okay, not bad. We've had power outages yesterday and the day before. Not the whole time, but off and on. Well, it was off for a complete 6 hours at one point, and then like off and on. But might have even been eight through the night. Let me see, the night before last. Um, yeah, so we're lucky we have wood heat. We didn't freeze to death with all the snow we've been getting. But our trees really suffered around here with the snowpack. It was so wet that it broke a bunch of branches. And I mean, we have a lot of trees, so it isn't like our only tree in our yard got damaged. And once the limbs are cleaned up and everything, it would be really hard to notice, aside from like the whole tree that fell down. But that was a popular popple, or aspen, wherever you live in the world. They're called different things. So, and they're a softwood, and they grow fast. They rot out quick, and they turn punk and just get wet. They're really not good for firewood unless you want to smoke something. Not meat or food, but well, the natives used to, but it's a real peppery type of smoke, even more than, say, like a oak or a hickory, whereas like a apple or a maple or something like that would be a sweeter wood to smoke stuff with. So, just a moment. I'm wearing my oldest son's jersey that he left for me. They used to live in Washington, him and his little family, and they moved now. But anyway, he's going through some things. I'm not quite sure how he is. I haven't heard anything in the last few days, but yeah, he has been suicidal in the past, so he's not doing too great. So anyway, yeah, a lot of things on my mind like that, but mostly what is on my mind, that I have to carry through with my own life and remain strong, because like for instance, he's got three daughters and they don't have him in their lives right now, and really do look up to me to remain strong. So yeah, if I flip out and swear a little bit or something, I am not swearing at you, my friends. I love you and I appreciate you. If I'm radical about something, it is not directed towards you. Just know that. It might be one person in particular, but it wouldn't be, directed at everybody here. And if you are new here, thank you so much for joining me. Um, Well, I'm going to boycott the Oxford Dictionary. It's never really been one of my favorites anyway. I'm more of a Merriam-Webster, old Merriam-Webster dictionary, because I know that's where the meanings of what the Dark Cabal uses, where they have their codes, and um, there's no sense speaking a language that doesn't even make any sense. If you're going to communicate with them, you need to use their language or you won't know what they're talking about, kind of like the Oxford Dictionary. Very odd thing. I was thinking about doing, I've done videos before on X and Y chromosones, which the Oxford Dictionary left out of their definition of what woman or a man is. Yes, men, they changed you too. You are no longer male. You're whoever you want to be after you're born, not during God's creation, but whatever man or whatever you want as a woman want to call yourself. This is the new pretend definitions in the world for everybody. So, my suggestion, and I'm hoping people please listen up, please spread this message. That Oxford Dictionary needs to be boycotted completely, especially out of the children's uh, libraries or their learning curriculum, whatever they've got, whatever tools they use, and I'm sure it's probably online, or maybe not, but either or, um, when they're not going to put the full scientific definition of what the truth is, our children are in danger through language. This has always been the case. This is, like I say, why they've added vowels to certain languages to be able to create this new type of dystopian nightmare that they want people to live through, you know? If you have a daughter, if you have a little boy, whoever, big or little, and you cherish who God made them to be, and you hope that they have a sane mind to be grateful for who God made them to be, also, please share the information of boycotting that dictionary of lies. So, because, I mean, I may, I had like orange on this morning, and I told Doug I identify as a carrot, and that's just the way it is, you know. There was a woman that put like her hair up and two buns on the side of her head and went into the school board meeting and told them that she identified as a cat, trying to make her point, you know. My point really is very valid and very, very important and very, very dangerous. Just think about the times that you've even spoke words within with your friends or loved ones or whoever. One little word can change the whole meaning of what's going on, and changing one word completely, I mean, it's not going to change the actual physical science that we can prove, but it is going to confuse the children further, and that is what they're doing. That's the bottom line of it all right there. So I'm going to try and keep my concentration through what the point I'm trying to make here. So just a moment. Um, Let me see. Well, it's kind of hard to do with people around, you know, walking around. I make a video. I was waiting till everything was peaceful, and it just hasn't been. So I'm just going to do my best to try and make my point very clear, to leave no doubt the danger of the changes in language. Oh, this is so bad, everybody. I mean, the future of what they plan for the children is far worse than anything we've been through. It's way worse. I mean, what they've got planned for everybody, it doesn't matter where you live on the planet. Um, I'm just hoping there's some way. I mean, we can't stop the publication, and we can't stop the people that have enough wealth to be able to publish a widespread book like the Oxford Dictionary that you would think would, it's like you would think that that would carry a lot of weight. And you talk about people like they've gone to their Ivy League schools, whether it be like Cambridge or Duke University or whoever and wherever. Some of them carry a little more weight and a little more respect from their teachings that they've had through their universities and different papers and professors and their scientists and whoever. And I'm getting a little distracted. Just a minute. Anyway, so I'll get back there. Just wait. I will. So just a moment. I had a point to make with that too, and I'll make it. Just a minute. I'll light another cigarette and make my point. Maybe if parents combine now and stand up and start making more videos about stopping the change, the definitions of things. We cannot let these creatures change the definition of things widespread. It's insane. Beyond insane is calling something that it's not. I'm going to share. See, I had intended on doing I am going to share a Bruce Sees All Dark Side podcast that he did this morning. And I've had this X and Y chromosones on my mind, well, for a very long time. I've made a couple videos about it already. But I mean, they can change the language, but they can't change the biology, is what I'm trying to say. And that's one other thing I was going to say about Oxford, the town, city, Oxford, England, is going to be one of the first lockdown cities um, going into effect quite soon here, from what I understand, for control of like I don't want to say the word, but I'll just say like precipitation or whatever, which is kind of ironic that they can do things like with have done in the past with harp starting in 1958. Well, actually produced, I believe, in 1949, but used widespread with silver oxide, I think it is, as shooting them flares up into a cloud and making it produce rain. So, I mean, when they can do that, but yet we have farmers that are, their crops are dying because of lack of rain. It just really doesn't make any sense. Well, because we all know what they're trying to do, make it so you're in one controllable area and they control your food and your travel and everything about it, you know. So I know I had some other points. I had people walking back and forth. I mean, yeah, that happens, but I expect a whole bunch more noise here soonly. Maybe not. Maybe I'll get a little more acknowledgement that I'm actually trying to talk to people to help them or to make them aware of a few things that they might not know, or just to say hi, but it's a little bit irritating. Yeah, whatever. So, anyway, so yes, I'm going to put a link to that Dark Side podcast. It just so happened that Bruce had a dream encounter with somebody telepathically or through his dreams or God talking to him in his sleep. And he started researching chromasones and stuff to make a podcast that he was talking about that. And it didn't cover it totally completely, but he went pretty deep into it. I had some other points that I had made on ones that I think I have a video. It's called X is Y. There's even a Coldplay song called X. Well, there's a whole album, X and Y. And one of their songs, X is Y. But it's kind of this is the beginning of the not the beginning of the change of the language because that was implemented. I mean, it's okay when you have a language that is relatively simple, like four letters or whatever. And yes, I'm going to have a blast of noise in a second here. Okay, but I'll just talk a little louder. So you have oh, I'm going to have to try and gather my thoughts again. I'm sorry, I really am. So, just a moment. I am trying to make a video. Yeah, my concentrations get well. I thought that the noise might have ended a little bit. Okay, I'm going to try and gather my thoughts again. Well, you do now. So, getting back to those smart cities that they're going to try and that's implement is one of the trial cities is going to be in Oxford. Um, they say they're going to try and do that in New York and LA. Well, obviously, LA is, I mean, California itself is a total mess right now. What they're doing to those people is just, it's horrendous for real. Just take a look at it and wonder, would you really want it to be like that around you? You know? Somebody had made a point about maybe like some of them homeless or maybe like crisis type people. That could very well be that's kind of occurred to me before too. Although I've been homeless and it was a crisis and I wasn't acting more than once in my life. So yeah. And I could say to no fault of my own, but I could have stayed in situations that could have cost me my life. So, you know, yeah. So sometimes homeless is better than dead, you know. I know, I guess really the main point of I can't stress enough how important it is to make people aware of the language changes. Not only are they trying to make people believe falsities about science, I mean, that's an out and out lie. No, you can't become a woman 6 months or 6 years after you're born. You're still biologically a man. You still do not menstruate. You do not have a womb. Your body cannot supply blood to a baby. The whole mechanics of your system change your hormones, if you will. You cannot change your chromosomes. And that's the part that they're not going to dwell on. That's the part I'm going to dwell on, because that's the part I'm going to teach the children. And I hope you do too, that they're trying to run civilization into the ground to have more control over you. It's just like when I was working on ranches and we go out, we gather a herd. I'll just use a small number. Sometimes it's been very large, but I'll just say like 400 head of cattle. And we had to run them into a corral and we gather them all into one group with a fence around them because it was easier to work with them. And then we'd cut them out. We'd cut out like the steers or the bulls or the cows, and we'd separate everybody, or like a little heifer, the female, a steer being a bull calf that has been castrated. So a lot of times that's why we had ran them into that corral, was so they could be castrated or inseminated, or the B word for them too. Luckily, I don't think it had any of that graft stuff in it, you know, but you know, even that can be passed on through sexual intercourse if you've had somebody, and they call it shedding, but if they haven't had that magic potion, or if they have and you haven't, or whatever, you now have it in you regardless. One way or another, they're trying to get this in us, whether it's in the air or the food or the water or whatever. But like I say, my major point and what needs to be acknowledged and really jumped on, it's the language. You change the language, you change everything. That goes in like to laws and science. Every dynamic of our being is illustrated by words. And if these children believe, they may not even study science or know anything about biology at all, but if they believe what they're being told when they're little, it's going to be ingrained in them. And I don't know if there'll be any elders around that are going to be able to teach them different. And there you will have a total satanic takeover on the next generations if we do not put a stop to it now. We have to. We have to do something. We have to go into the children's school library and see what dictionaries are in there. Ask their teachers in PTA, parent teacher meetings. Ask those teachers what dictionaries they're using to teach your children. It's important. Um, you know, I really wouldn't even recommend anything besides the Merriam-Webster, because that's what the whole satanic beast system is built on. Oh yes, this offshoot, and there's Britannica and other ones, and yeah, they correlate and the definitions seem to flow into one another. But that just tells me that all the other ones are going to be changed too, if it's not put the kibosh on it right now. Right now. Like kids are going to be going back to school after the holidays here if they're out on holiday break or whatever. And now is the time to, you got to act now. You know, there's no two ways about it. And what would I do? I mean, I did take my child, my youngest son, I took him out of public school because, and I had my oldest one out for a while too because they weren't teaching, my kids were academically smarter than their peers because I started teaching them when they were tiny, tiny, very little. I had a 9-month-old that could say sentences, you know, because, well, I didn't have anything else to do. I took my son to work with me, and he heard everybody talk, and we talked, and he talked, and yeah, but I would take them out of school if they're going to push this regime on my kids to confuse them. I mean, I would gather with other parents and other children and individually see in my community um, who could teach, who could do daycare, who could help out with groceries or whatever the case may be. I'm sure micro communities could work things out. And that's probably what it's going to boil down to anyway in the world is that, because there's definitely a separation of those that don't see that transhumanism, that they want to put your children in and their children of being a nothing on this planet while they live large as their masters. We have to stop this. Now, we still, in my country, have the First and Second Amendment rights. So far, so good. Still there. The freedom to speak and the freedom to bear arms. But they're trying to take all that away, too. Well, if you change the language, I guess it isn't going to really matter if you have this freedom to speak, because anything you say is going to be adverse to its true meaning anyway. And that's happened in other languages. That's where I was going before I got interrupted with languages that had, for instance, only four letters. That whole words could be comprised a whole language just out of those four letters. So the other letters being introduced and added, it's like I made my own language. I'll say I made my own language to you in my language. Aragay, maragade, maragay, aragon, laragang, whatagage. I made my own language. It's called Girigi. I added extra syllables, just like they did to, and I do it, and I love doing it to people from the Dark Cabal because they're the ones that change the language, and they can't understand mine. And people that know me learn to speak my language, and if you do it in front of them, that's very irritating to them because they just can't get it. So I really had a English teacher hate me. Me and my, well, she didn't hate my two friends that spoke this with me. They had a double, well, they went off of Pig Latin and then they doubled it. And then I tripled it. And we'd sit there and speak our languages. And I asked the teacher, I did end up in after school, what do you call it? Oh, I forget what they call it when they throw you in a classroom with the rest of the retards because you're not behaving or you're stupid. But I asked her if it, if it was a requiem that I had to speak English in English literature, I asked her if English was the only acceptable language in her class or something to that effect. Yeah, and I ended up in what do you call that shit? I should know. I was in there enough. Um, oh yeah, maybe it'll come to me later. You know what I mean? Where the naughty kids go. Then I had this horrible habit of making the kids laugh at like the teacher's expense. So yeah, I had troubles in that area. So yeah, it was fun. All the look on her face. She was a real pretty lady too, and I liked her when I first got in her class, seventh and eighth grade, Mrs. Anderson, and she looked like Julie Andrews from The Sound of Music. Yeah, her looked just like her almost. So, but I ended up not liking her so much because she actually it wasn't a jealousy thing. She just hated me. So might have been a little bit of jealousy because if you couldn't understand a language a kid was speaking and they were there to learn from you. And I did good in her class. I mean, it isn't that I didn't do my homework or anything because I did. It's just the extra stuff that she didn't like not being able to understand what us girls were saying. And we each had our own desk, but we'd get together at this round table and then we'd be laughing at our own language. So, yes, languages are very important, and changing the definitions of things to things that are untrue, you know, I hope more people are going to start. See, it is a godless society. Basically, omitting God out of the whole world is their ulterior motive. That's the number one. If I had to pick one reason why are they doing all this, that's to take God away from this world. The feeling, the Christ spirit, the goodness in people, they don't want that. In fact, they'd rather you have no feelings, good nor bad. Just walk down that middle path like they want you to do, you know? Well, that's not my personality. If I did forget something, I'll just save it for another video. And I think I made my point pretty clear, but it's very true. You can change one letter on a word, it'll become another word with a whole nother meaning. Or like the three different meanings of, or two different meanings of rain, like out of the sky, or to have control over. I was going to say three, like the reins or the bridle on a horse, but that's the same, to keep control over, spelt totally different and meaning totally different things pronounced the same way. Just one quick thing I did learn, that in French, I don't know if it's pronounced the same, but I saw in a live stream, my friend Alias said Colleen to somebody, Calin. I was like, if I get cut off, I'll put it in my comments, but that's my maiden name. It means on the hill or the mountain, the top of the mountain. So I was Barb Clean. It's pronounced like Mr. Clean, or cleaning your house or clean. So in French, that means hug. And I'm always like telling people hugs. I'm Barb Clean Weast. Cool, huh? I thought that was really cool, but I don't know if it's pronounced the same. Calin. Might be called Colin or Callan or Solin, perhaps. I'm not sure how in French that would sound, but that's my name. And I freaked out because that's a Swedish term and I hadn't heard it um, in French, so I guess I don't really know. But one of my French friends might be able to tell me how that would sound out in English, what that would sound like. But that just goes to show, like, look, from Swedish to French, it means a hill in Swedish, and it means a hug, or a mountain in Swedish and a hug in French. I guess I'm a huggy mountain. Sort of. Depends. I'm kind of huggy and kind of not. I used to be really, really affectionate. That's kind of not as much as I wish I could be more loving in this cold, cold world, but I'm doing my best because it's in there. I mean, it's in there for everybody, regardless of their stupid clown games or whatever. They can say whatever they want about me. I don't care. I know who I am, and I know who they are, and I know who they work for. So, well, I thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to upload this and probably catch some of Brucey's all live stream this evening. If you're interested in joining me or him and our friends over there, they're a wonderful group of people. Don't miss out. We talk about everything over there, everything. And it's got the best vibe, one of the best vibes of a group of people around anywhere. And that's the truth. All right, everybody, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed my snotty little exchange of my typical life. So, anyway, peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day wherever you're at. I'll catch you on the flip side, and happy weekend, everybody. I love you. And Brucey's all. More snow coming your way, buddy. Protect your back. I love you. I love you all. Thank you so much.